What is going on, everybody? Today we're looking at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure Executioner Wave. So we have 7 figures here to look at today, plus our Build-A-Figure. So starting off in the front here, we have the World War II version of Wolverine, or Logan as it should be called. So just him in a nice military outfit design. Then we have Iron Man in the Mark 72 armor, so another new Iron Man armor added to the collection. That's where we start to get our Build-A-Figure pieces. So we get the head there of Executioner. And then we also have the Dark Avengers Spider-Man, so a weird 6-armed Spider-Man, and the black symbiote suit there, which looks pretty cool, so nice for that. Then moving over to our back row with our last 4 figures, we have Warbo from the Cristar storyline, so another character to go along with our Cristar, just in a nice all see-through green color. Then we've got Werewolf by Night, so awesome to get him in the nice werewolf design, looks really cool. And to go along with Executioner, we get Enchantress, so a nice Thor villain there with a new upgraded body. And finally, we have the Phantom Rider, so very cool to have him in the all nice white design there, looks cool. And of course, we have the Build-A-Figure pieces there for Executioner, so we'll look at him last as well after building it. So pretty nice to get a Build-A-Figure wave once again. I think the last wave we got was like the Nemesis wave, so an X-Men with the Build-A-Figure of Nemesis. So nice to get another Build-A-Figure wave here. It's been quite a while, so I'm excited to check them out. So let me get them open out of the box and we'll take a look at them together. So starting off with the World War II Logan, following the death of his lover Silver Fox at the hands of Sabretooth, Logan began to travel the world and took up many jobs such as a spy, mercenary, assassin, and a soldier during World War II, which would lead him to meet and interact with the likes of Captain America, Bucky Barnes, and Nick Fury. Now, of course, there's more story to that, but from what I read, there's not like a whole lot of specific details about Wolverine in World War II, but just because of his age and everything, we know he's lived through World War II and participated in it. But of course, Wolverine has regenerative healing factor, decelerated aging, and retractable bone claws at this point in time because he's not gone through the Weapon X program to get the adamantium in his skeleton. So it looks good overall. Of course, this looks mostly just like a soldier, so it looks like this could go perfectly with your G.I. Joes. We just get the face of Logan there, or Wolverine. Looks pretty good. Still has his long mutton chops. Love the mouth open there with the teeth shown and stuff. Looks pretty nice. And the nice helmet there on his head. I thought it'd maybe come off, but it is attached on there, but he has like that military style helmet there. And then the military outfit, so the jacket on over the top, the nice like olive green colors. Love the little logoing there on the side for the military and stuff. All sorts of straps and patches and pockets and everything going through there. Then some military style pants with the baggier pants with the pockets on the side and all that, down to the boots that have the coverings over the top as well. So the nice different shades of green and everything going there. Looks really good overall. So like I said, mostly just looks like a guy from the military, but with that head, we know it signifies that it is Wolverine. Now for movements, the head will twist all the way around. I look down that far and up that far. Feels like it's on a dumbbell joint. Yep, that's exactly what it is. So yeah, not a whole lot of range there. Shoulders will come up to 90 though and rotate all the way around. We get the bicep twist and the double elbow joint. That will bend up that far. Then down to the wrist, twist all the way around, and has the hinge up and down hand. So there it goes, just a little up and down. Then we go to the ab crunch, which you can see some of that crunch there, but because of the outfit, don't really get too much. So just a little bit of crunching back and forth. Then it'll twist around at the waist as well. So just under the belt there, it looks like it'll twist around. Hips will come up towards 90 if you force it there, and out to the side that far. We get a thigh twist all the way around, a little stiff though. The double knee joint, that'll bend up that far to the back, not far from kicking his butt. Shin twist at the top of the boot, and the foot will flex back and forth and twist side to side. So decent movements overall. He's got the military style outfit on, so doesn't really get the best range of movements or anything, but pretty decent overall for what he's got. Now for the accessories he comes with, we do get an unhelmeted head, so we get this one for Wolverine or Logan, so we can switch out just to see what it looks like. So there's what Logan looks like without the helmet, so if you want to just see him there without the helmet design, like I said, I kind of like the helmet because it makes it feel more military-ish to me and stuff, but there's just what he looks like when he just be hanging around, not in battle. And he also comes with a satchel we can put around him, so just this bag, not sure if it's one, it looks like it may have a little different design from all the past satchels we've gotten with like, hobgoblins and all that sort of stuff, but we get this one we can put around him. So there he's got the satchel there, so probably can hold ammunition or whatever other belongings he has with him there. Then moving over to weapons, first we get the standard Marvel Legends little knife design. It's the same design we've seen for years now. Now he does have a sheath here down on his boot, so we can take this and slide it down in there, so have it stored away there on his boot for that. And he also comes with a machine gun, of course a World War II Aram style machine gun. I don't know what that it's called or anything, but looks good overall with the design, of course with a lot of gray and then the brown pieces attached to it, so it looks good. We can put this into his hand. And there's Wolverine with the gun. Of course, it was not easy to get the gun in his hand. It just doesn't allow, with his shorter arms, with his smaller stature, doesn't allow the gun to sit in his arms very well. So had to like get it really stuck back under there, and then trying to get this hand to reach over for it to hold it there. It doesn't work out the best. So satchel sword just flying off there into the back because of trying to fight with that gun and stuff. So that's what you can do with him there. Of course, doesn't look the best, but like I said, it's just because of his proportions, doesn't really work out the easiest there. Then he does come with some additional hands though. So we do get a fist hand. So if you don't want to have this like cupped hand there that I'm using, you do get a fist as well. And then he also comes with these claw hands. Now I couldn't find any like origin to this, and like I said, at this point in time he has the bone claws, so I don't know why he wouldn't just use his bone claws, but he has these like glove pieces with metal claws attached to him there, so you can see them, they're sort of like bolted on there or whatever. So we do get this option as well, of course, to give Wolverine his claws. So let's switch out and see what those look like. And there's Wolverine with those claws. So it looks pretty cool, you know, it does make it look more like Wolverine, but like I said, I just don't really understand where they're coming from. Like I said, couldn't find really any details unless it's from an updated storytelling version of Wolverine in World War II, and like he gets these claw designs or whatever. Again, not really sure where they came from, but it still looks good. Like I said, it makes it fit along with Wolverine and fit for what it'd be at the time, you know, where he's got the wrapped up hands with those attached instead of the actual claws. So I guess that somewhat makes sense. I don't know what these would be metal wise and how they'd attach to his hand and all that, but it still, you know, gives him his claws that are kind of iconic for him. Now, of course, because he is World War II style, we don't really have much to go with him. Like I mentioned, the other characters, so obviously we do that, but we could bring in Captain America, because we have Captain America in sort of like a military-esque outfit there as well. So we have this one, so it was a comic version that came with the motorcycle, I believe, which I didn't think could have grabbed that motorcycle and tried to put Wolverine on that as well. So just those two versions of Captain America and Wolverine there serving in World War II together, or with a more, I'd say, more similar outfit design, we could bring in the movie version of Captain America. So there we get that. So they're wearing more of like the military outfit and stuff with the leathers and pants and all that. So have those two fill a little bit. Of course, this Wolverine's head isn't as realistic as the Chris Evans ones there, but we could like switch out a head to other version of Captain America to make them more fit together there. But I think that looks pretty cool, so that'd be nice to sort of put on a shelf together. But overall, it's nice for this World War II era version of Wolverine. Nice to get him and how he depicted and seen fighting in the war. And next up, we have Iron Man in the Mark 72 armor, which debuted in the Invincible Iron Man number 15 from February 2024. And in this, we see a hostile takeover of Stark Unlimited by the human supremacist tycoon named Fei Long, led to the creation of Stark Sentinels, which are Sentinels made of Iron Man technology used to continue his quest for mutant oppression. This forced the X-Men and Tony Stark into hiding, and during this time, Tony learned of the theoretical metal called Mysterium and decided to use it against the Stark Sentinels. So Tony Stark and Emma Frost gathered Mysterium deposits that were in the game world and brought it back to be forged into an enormous Sentinel Buster armor and a human-sized Model 72 that was used to pilot the Sentinel Buster. So in this armor, he has enhanced strength, it's more durable than adamantium, and he also has flight repulsors and pop-out blasters on his wrist. So it looks pretty decent. It's just another Iron Man armor, so not really that exciting overall, but it looks good with a lot of the black and red design. Of course, reminds me of like Ironheart, especially like the movie versions and everything, but still looks decent overall for an Iron Man armor, just another armor to add to our Hall of Armors, so looks good overall. So we still get the red and the gold designs, of course classic for Iron Man, but then a lot of black thrown in as well, which looks pretty nice overall with the design. So like I said, it's definitely not my favorite Iron Man. Like I like the story, you know, being the Sentinel Buster and all that sort of stuff, that sounds really cool, but just the look here I don't think is the best. But yeah, like I said, so within the design, so we have the gold faceplate, still a lot of red, some like silver in here, like I said, that dark black color is like unibeam design there, and I love all the little blue lights running through it, and like all the additional armor, the big thick armor there on his arms. Of course, they'll have the pop out wrist, and then like the arm legging armor there that sort of goes down, covering up the legs there as well with the black and gold design stuff. Just looks pretty decent, but like I said, definitely not my favorite armor. But movement-wise, the head will twist all the way around, and it'll look down that far and up that far. And it does feel like it is on a dumbbell joint again, but we do get some neck movements in there as well, so it allows a little more range, which is nice. The shoulders will come up to 90 and rotate around. We get the bicep twist and the double elbow joint. That, of course, feels a little stiff, but it'll bend up there pretty much all the way up on itself, which is really nice. The wrist will twist around. Now, of course, it has this guard, so that's going to be in the way, but it can twist around at least within there and flex back and forth. Then we get the ab crunch, so just under the separation of the armor designs there. So crunch back and forth and twist all the way around. Then down to the hips, come up to 90, actually can go over 90, which is pretty nice, and out to the side there. Thigh twist around just at the top of the armor here, so twist around. The double knee joint that will bend up that far to the back, not far from kicking his butt. Down to the foot, that'll rock back and forth there, but it does have the arm in the front, so it doesn't allow full movements, and then we'll twist side to side. So decent movements overall, better movements than I expected it to have. Still not like the overall best or anything, but not decent at all. And I do have an issue with this. I don't know if you can kind of see where we've got the issue again where like one leg's longer than the other, so trying to get him to stand is pretty difficult, and he like keeps like leaning to the side and keep trying to get the legs adjusted and stuff to not make it look so awkward. It's just so weird how that happens every now and then with some Marvel Legends figures, but yeah, this Iron Man is kind of wonky there. Now for accessories, we do get those pop-out wrist blasters, so we get these attachments that we can put on the wrist. So they do have the little segments here that we can just grab onto and pop out. So that allows those blasters to pop out of the wrist. So you get those. Of course, they're just sort of loosely pegged in. They'd easily fall out just like they did there. But we do get those, and of course they are labeled left and right, so you know which ones go where. But you get those little blasters that pop out of the wrist, which is pretty nice. But I probably won't use them, like I said, because they do, you barely touch them and they fall out. So risk of losing stuff there, we don't want to do that. But of course, classically for Iron Man, we do also get the wrist here with the blaster, so we get the holes there so they can do the repulsor blast out of his hand. So let's put these on. So there's the hand switched out, and of course it comes with some repulsor flex and this nice blue design, so clear at the bottom, blue at the end. So we get those, we can pop into his hands. Now obviously getting his hands in the positions is not the easiest, especially with those armor designs there. You got to kind of have the hands more twisted to the side of the armor to get them to like point up more or anything, but you kind of do something like that more often there. So there's what you could do. Like I said, not the best, especially because of that armor pieces, which I do like that additional armor, you know, does make it a little bit different, that you get the pop out wrist blasters and stuff. But for like posing like this and stuff, doesn't obviously work out the best because you can't really get the hands in the certain positions. And next up, we have the Dark Avengers Spider-Man. Now, there's been various versions over the years of different people that have been the Dark Avengers Spider-Man, but this version is the Aapek, the Decapitator, which was a god worshipped by the natives of Peru that is a chimeric being that resembles a man with snakes for hair and has long, sharp teeth, but also has the lower body of a spider. But he was captured by the US government and put into a special containment center, which was a supermax prison. But after his failed siege of Asgard, Norman Osborn ended up in prison in the same facility. But during a prison break, Norman agreed to release many of the prisoners if they would help him escape. But later, Norman would decide to form the new Dark Avengers team, and he recruited Aapek, giving him a genetic modification drug that transformed his body into the shape of Spider-Man, but it also resulted in him growing 4 additional arms. That's why we got 6-armed Spider-Man design. So Aapek has superhuman strength, speed, durability, and reflexes, as well as immortality, a healing factor, wall crawling, venom bites, and organic webbing. So it's cool to get a Dark Avengers version of Spider-Man. You know, it's just the black suit, symbiote suit version of Spider-Man is all it is. But like I said, with this being Aapek, that he has the 6 arms this time, so we get the 6-armed Spider-Man design, which is cool. But of course, it always gets to be way too much, just way too many limbs and everything going on. So it gets kind of crazy and annoying there. But otherwise, it's just the black suit Spider-Man version. Love his design, so it's like an updated design, so much bigger spider, and all contained here on his chest, so we don't have to worry about going over to the arms or anything around the sides because of the way it's designed, so it's all squished down in here on his chest. Of course, the all black suit, so black from head to toe, no like square boxes or any sort of designs there on his hands, and white, so just all solid there. Same with the spider on the back, it's probably just, yeah, complete reuse of the spiders they're reprinting, and has the white eyes there of the head. And then, like I said, yeah, everything else is just completely black everywhere else. But for movements, the head will twist all the way around. It'll look down that far and up that far, so the hinge in there allows good range. Then we get the arms, so of course each of the arms will come up to about 9, at least that one's going that far there, and of course it will rotate around, but really hard to do with all the additional arms. Has the bicep twist, the double elbow joint that bends all the way up on there, so pretty much, and then down to the wrist twist around and flex back and forth. Now of course we get 3 arms on each side there, so all of them will be exactly the same. I love how I get the arms, one's more towards the back, then this one down in the lower abdomen section. We do still get the ab crunch at least, so crunch back and forth and twist all the way around there. Down to the hips will come up to 90 and out to the side. Thigh twist all the way around. the double knee joint that will bend up that far to the back, kicking himself in the butt, down to the shin twist there at the top of the boot, and the foot flex back and forth and twist side to side. So decent movements overall. You just have to deal with that 6-arm design, so get a lot of limitation stuff going in, the ab crunches and then the arm designs here, so the arms have to sit at all different positions to just kind of look normal. So definitely not my most favorite design, just because I'm not a huge fan of the 6 arms being in there. Like I said, just way too much to deal with, but it does fit along with this version of the Dark Avengers Spider-Man. Now accessory wise, pretty simple. He just comes with an additional head with more angry like eyes, so the much more squinted down eyes, which I do like, so we'll switch that out, so that feels much more fitting for a villain. And then the only additional hands we get are a set of wall crawling hands. So he already has a set on the lower arms there, and then fist on all the others. You know, it's kind of weird we don't get any flip hands at all, but yeah, we just get an additional set of wall crawling, which I'll probably put on, I was gonna say these arms here, the middle arms. So I did it so I could try and pose them up somewhat similar to that there. So where he's got like the fist hand, since he doesn't have any other like flip hands or anything, so he's only gonna be able to really fist fight and then get the other hands out, trying to look more spiderish, whatever was what I was trying to go for there. But obviously we can move them, adjust them, do whatever we want there with that. But there we just get the 6-arm Spider-Man there in the black suit. Now of course we've had other versions like this before, so we've had other versions of the black suit Spider-Man. So this was, I believe, the Secret Wars one we chose, and since it's like the newer design there, so there we get the normal black suit Spider-Man. And then of course we've had 6-arm Spider-Man before as well, so probably taking this similar body design here with all the arms and stuff. So just get those different versions of Spider-Man there. And of course now that we have that, we can add him with our other Dark Avengers from this team specifically. And there's the figure we have of this version of the Dark Avengers, where we have Norman Osborn and his Iron Patriot suit. I'm not sure if he was with the team, but obviously he recruited Peck and all the other members, so we'll just throw him in there. And then of course we get Ragnarok and Scar, which are also members of this team. So very cool to get the 6-arm version of the black suit Spider-Man there for our Dark Avengers. Like I said, for me, I'd probably just use that other Spider-Man, just because with the Dark Avengers I picture just had a normal looking black suit Spider-Man in it, but the 6 arms is cool. It just makes him differentiated a little. And next up, we have Warbo from the Cristar comics. Now, he's a crystal warrior from Crystalium, serving as captain of the Royal Guard under Cristar. When he was struck in the eye, a wizard saved his life by transforming him into a crystal warrior. Now, with enhanced strength, he aids Cristar in the fight against his brother Moltar. And of course, he uses a crossbow, although he has less accuracy due to him missing an eye. So it looks pretty cool in this design. So it's pretty much just our Cristar reused again. So the nice all see-through body, which is awesome. Just in green this time, which looks really cool. I like the design, especially here through the camera with all the light shining through him. You can see all like the mechanics and interior workings and everything. Looks really good there. But we get his head design, of course, where it's talking about him missing an eye. So he does have like this eye patch design there covering up his one eye, and nice green design everywhere else with the white eye there. So it looks pretty cool. Even like the ears, mouth, nose, all that sort of little details are in there with the crystalline design. Then we get this nice like bandolier, whatever it is. I assume it could be like arrows and stuff there, like as a bandolier around his chest, which is awesome. And then just see-throughness everywhere else there. A little bit of underwear design, so they are wearing some sort of pants. Love how it has little like arrow designs on like the belt section there, so that's cool. And then has the same boot designs that Cristar had, just in the dark green color. So like I said, pretty much also a lot of reuse of Cristar with some additional like pieces on him, but still looks good overall in the green design. Now, Moonwise, his head will twist all the way around, look down that far and up that far, so nice movements there with the hinge. Shoulders up towards 90. It's kind of probably weird with the way his arms are designed with all the ridges and stuff, but can get up that far at least and rotate around. We get the bicep twist and the double elbow joint that bends up that far. Wrist will twist all the way around and flex back and forth. Then we get the ab crunch, so crunch forward, crunch back, so nice crunching there. Twist all the way around at the waist. Hips will come up to 90 and out to the side. Ooh, he can do the splits. That's pretty nice. Thigh twist all the way around. The double knee joint that'll bend up that far to the back. And the foot will flex back and forth and twist side to side. So decent movements overall there. Nothing really to complain too much about. I do not have a little bit of issues getting him to stand. Like his feet are a little bit weird and awkward. Not sure what's going on there, but if you just get the like legs twisted and adjusted, it'll eventually work itself out. But just overall with the design, looks really nice. Now, accessory-wise, he does come with some additional hands, so we get 2 grip hands there. So with those, if we want to switch any of these out for different accessories, we'll probably especially do the right, so we can use this for his weapon, so I'll switch that out. And his final accessory is his crossbow. Of course, I mentioned in the story and where he gets his name from. So we get this nice crystalline crossbow there, and has the nice dark green arrows, so you can see that's probably where the arrows come from there, so it looks really cool. So it's nice that we get this, so we can obviously put it in his hand, but it also goes up around his wrist, which is pretty cool. That's a nice design. So let me go and put put this in his right hand. So there's Warbo with his crossbow, so that looks pretty cool. I do like how it goes around the arm there, and then it can easily fit into his hand and all that, so I tried to get him posed up there a little, holding onto the bow. So overall, I really like that design. That looks cool. Like I said, especially the green color really stands out. And of course, we can bring in Cristar to go along with him, so we have our 2 crystalline warriors there, so that is pretty awesome. Really like this line. Like I said, don't know really anything besides what I've looked up and stuff about Cristar and the storyline for it, but really like these figure designs that we're getting so far. So hopefully we get more characters. I really want to get Cristar's brother to see what he'll look like in a figure form, but really nice to add Warbo to our collection. And next up, we have Werewolf by Night, who is Jack Russell. He inherited the family curse of lycanthropy that began when his ancestor tried to stake Dracula and was bitten by a werewolf that was working for Dracula. Jack first transformed when he turned 18 on a full moon, turning into a werewolf by night as we know him here, and became a frequent member of the Legion of Monsters. So he has lycanthropy, which gives him superhuman strength, speed, durability, reflexes, and senses, as well as a healing factor, and of course, turning into a werewolf, he has claws and teeth. So it looks good for this Werewolf by Night design, of course, comic design, so pretty simple and basic, looks like a werewolf, so Marvel's version of a werewolf, which looks decent overall. So we just get the all hairy upper body, so we get the wolf design, of course, looking more like the classic Universal Monster werewolf design, so still get like that human, I would say humanish looking face there. Of course, this has the mouth open with the teeth shown, so it looks pretty nice with those nice prominent canines, yellow eyes, love the darkness around the eyes as well. It's pretty nice with the pointy ears coming off to the side, the all brown fur. It would be nice to have more like shading or something on it. There is some around the face, like they took a black spray and went around the face, but that's really all there is. Everything else is just all the same brown color, so it'd be nice if there was some differentiator and color added in with the fur. But like I said, the all furry upper body there, so love to get tufts of fur on like his chest and in the midsection and stuff on his arms, so we get little spots here and there, like at the elbows there, a little bit longer fur. Of course, the claws there on his hands, as I mentioned. He's wearing pants because of werewolf, so he's got to be pictured wearing pants, so nice green pants there, which I love that green color they chose. Love how the like knees torn out of the one side there, showing the fur, and then we get the lower legs with the fur design into the feet with the claws on the toes there as well. So it just looks decent, pretty cheesy and everything, but fun, and looks like Werewolf by Night. Now, moon-wise, the head will twist all the way around. Of course, kind of stuck there with his mouth open around those muscles, and then can look down that far and up that far. So not the best range there, unfortunately, but not bad. Shoulders up to 90, and we'll rotate all the way around. We get the bicep twist and the double elbow joint that will bend there pretty much all the way up on itself. Looks like a deep designs in there, kind of different. Then we get the wrist that'll twist all the way around and hinge back and forth. Then we get the ab crunch, so crunch forward, crunch back, barely back at all, so he does crunch forward though. Twist all the way around at the waist, the hips come up to 90 and out to the side. Thigh twist all the way around, the double knee joint that will bend up that far to the back, not far from kicking his butt, down to the ankle that will rock back and forth and twist side to side. So decent movements, not the best. Looks like he does have upgraded pinless in the legs, but does have pins in the arms and like I said, that really weird joint, which allows it to move, so not really going to complain too much about that at all. Just kind of weird. That feels like, especially the upper body, feels pretty old, but I don't know if they've reused it from a past Werewolf by Night that we don't have or what the deal's going on. It just seems pretty old with that design, but it works out, so that doesn't really bother me too much. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't come with any accessories. He only came with the pieces for Executioner, so nothing to really go with him. The only thing I'd imagine would probably some sort of hands to go along with, but of course, for being a werewolf, the claw hands are plenty. That's all we really need. He has the open mouth and all that, so don't really need much more to go along with him than that, so it looks pretty decent. Now, we can bring in some other characters that he's interacted with over the years, such as Man-Thing. So, of course, we had the Werewolf by Night series where Man-Thing did appear in that, so I have that version, so it is the show version, but I do like the design the best, so I went ahead and brought that in here. So we do have Man-Thing there, and then also just brought in Morbius, a part of the Legion of Monsters there. So Morbius was part of that. Was going to get the Dracula, but I don't like that Dracula design we have, especially to go with this, so I thought that Dracula was a little too weird, so vampire wise I went with Morbius instead, and being part of that group fit together there as well. So very nice to add Werewolf by Night finally to our collection. Next up, we've got Enchantress, whose real name is Amor. She was born on Asgard and became an apprentice to the most powerful sorceress in all of Asgard, learning basic Asgardian magic, but was expelled for being too undisciplined, so she began picking up further mystical skills from Asgardian mages and wizards with the goal to eventually conquest Asgard. Becoming the Enchantress, she would seduce Skurge the Executioner to assist her with her schemes, leading to many confrontations with Thor. Now, she has the Asgardian physiology of supreme strength, speed, durability, and reflexes, as well as a healing factor and longevity. But she also has sorcery powers of teleportation, flight, illusions, telekinesis, telepathy, hypnosis, and seduction. So very cool to get an updated version of Enchantress. He'll still have some issues with her, especially with her feet, because they do have the heels on her, so it is hard to get her to stand here, unfortunately. But we dealt with that with like Emma Frost and stuff like that more recently, so nothing new there. But we do get the upgraded body with the pinless knees and elbows and the double elbows for the female body there, so pretty nice for that. We get a nice head design here. So the head, which always to me, the face always looks so big on her for some reason, not sure like what proportion wise is going on there, but the face and everything just looks so big compared to the rest of her body. But she has her nice green headdress piece, and then her blonde hair sort of poofed up and flowing to the back there, which looks really nice. But of course it is a lot of hair, so it does also weigh her down in the back, so that doesn't help either with trying to get her to stand. Then she has a green dress, so pretty skimpy green dress on here, which she is Enchantress, so she does a lot of seduction and everything, so she's going to be dressed sort of skimpy there, but nice green dress, like corset design with a little bit skirting here. That's a nice like tassel design. Nice metallic green for the belt, metallic green arm like sleeves or whatever they are there, so nice segmented arm pieces, looks pretty nice. Get the pant designs we've seen like multiple times before, so the all black pants with the green circles on it. Of course that's how her outfit is, but we've seen it multiple times just in the pinless joints this time, down to those high heels as I mentioned. So like I said, really big pain trying to get her to stand with those, and like I said, especially all that hair in the back and stuff does not make her easy to stand at all. But for moments we get that'll twist around. Now who knows how much with the hair, so just go a little bit back and forth, and as well as looking up and down, just a little bit of rocking back and forth with that hair design. The shoulders will come up over 90 there and rotate all the way around. We get the bicep twist and the double elbows, which not surprising, they were pretty stiff but can bend all the way up on itself there. Wrist will twist around and flex back and forth. Then we get the ab crunch under her chest, so she'll crunch back and forth there and twist all the way around. And then down to the hips will come up to 90, out to the side, thigh twist all the way around, the double knee joint that bends up that far to the back, kicking herself in the butt, and down to those feet that'll rock back and forth and twist side to side. So like, because overall pretty decent movements, especially, you know, has the updated female body, so that's all nice and everything, just not the easiest to stand. But accessory wise, she does come with additional hands of the fist hands, so we get those as an option, but I'll leave the magic hands for her powers. And what's really cool is we do also get a new effect for her powers, so we get this nice green swirl effect. We of course get the clip we can put on her wrist and using the powers there. So let me pick which wrist I want to put this on and put it on her. So there's Enchantress with the nice new effect on it, so pretty cool. It'd be nice to get two, so we'd put one on each hand, but works really good for her seduction powers and all that. Again, trying to get her to stand is not the easiest, but overall I think it does look pretty decent there. Of course we've had Enchantress in the past, so here's our older figure, so like I said, definitely a much better upgrade with this newer design compared to this with those old magic effects there, so we at least get that. And of course we'll bring Enchantress back here in a minute once we get Executioner, but just some other characters. So here are some other Asgardians with Thor, of course, that she's always after and kind of in love with or whatever, as well as Lady Sif. So there's just another Asgardian female to compare her body wise with, so just want to show those two off for now. But like I said, we'll bring Enchantress back for Skurge. And our last main figure of the wave is the Phantom Rider, whose real name is Carter Slade. He was born and raised in Ohio in the mid-1800s and decided to move out west to Colorado to become a school teacher. Along the way, he witnessed an Indian attack on a family and decided to help, but it was discovered that the Indians were actually white cattle herders that were mad at people moving onto their land. And during the fight, Carter was shot many times. He would end up being saved by an Indian medicine man, believing that he was the champion sent by the Great Spirit, giving him a white cloak and a horse-named Banshee. Carter then created a white costume to go with the cloak he was given and became the Ghost Rider, but throughout the years would go by other names like the Phantom Rider. And he would go on to defend the West, fighting evil and defeating criminals. So pretty cool, get this. So it's our first character described or named as Ghost Rider, but then of course when they came up with the actual Ghost Rider character like Johnny Blaze and all that, they ended up switching his name mostly over to the Phantom Rider. Although he has appeared in many Ghost Rider things, like there's, I know, a flashback thing where Ghost Rider went like back in time and stuff, and he met up with the Phantom Rider. And of course the Phantom Rider did appear in at least the first of the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider movies, played by Sam Elliott. So, you know, it was a cowboy on a horse and turned to flame and stuff, just like Ghost Rider. So has that. There's also been many versions of the Phantom Rider over the years. I know some have been, I guess there's like controversy going on with some of them and everything. So they just went with, at least from the story on the box, the original version here. But it looks really nice all in the white design. Of course, I don't know how you can see against the white background and with the color correction description and all that, but just so you can see what he looks like more, just completely all in white. There is some off-white, especially with his gloves, the belt and holsters, and his boots. It's got a little bit more of a yellowish to us, a little like cream color, but the rest is all stark white, which looks pretty nice. So he has the cowboy hat on there, which looks cool, along with the all base masked up head with the black around the white eyes. You'd probably find a way to get this cowboy hat off and it'd just be the all white version of Vision under here. Mostly, you know, take the holsters and all that stuff off, just be a version of Vision there. But has the nice white cloak, as I mentioned, that he was given by the Indian medicine man. So we get the whole nice white cloak there that's sort of just hanging on his back. It looks pretty nice. Again, the all just basic white body. It does look like it's the Vulcan body would be my guess. Then, like I said, he does have the gloves, boots, and then holster and belts there around his waist. So looks pretty nice with that design. It does really stand out with the all-white design here. But moon-wise, the head will twist all the way around. Of course, you can see that hinge is there, so look down that far and up that far, so really good range with that. Shoulders will come up to 90 with the butterfly joint back and forth, and will rotate around within there. Get the bicep twist and the double elbow joint that bends up that far. Get the wrist that'll twist all the way around and hinge up and down. Then we get the ab crunch there, so crunch forward, crunch back, so nice crunching. Twist around at the waist, so just under the belts there. Hips will come up to 90 and out to the side. Thigh twist all the way around. The double knee joint, of course, got to get the cape out of the way here. Get the double knee joint to bend up that far to the back, kicking himself in the butt. Then down to the boots, twist all the way around and hinge back and forth with the twist side to side. So good movements overall. Of course, using that Vulcan body, you know, not surprising at all, but just has pretty good range of movements and everything else going on with him. Now, accessory-wise, he does come with some additional hands. So he has a set of fist hands to go along with his two trigger finger hands, as well as this hand, whatever you'd want that to be, sort of relaxed hand there. But of course, what we want to give to him is that he comes with two revolvers as well. So being in the Wild West, he's got to have some revolvers. He, of course, has the holsters here on the side. So we can take the guns, you know, put them down in the holsters there if we want that. But we'll go and put him into his hand. And there I kind of posed up Phantom Rider with the gun. So that looks pretty cool. Of course, we now just need a horse to go along with him. So we are on the lookout for an all-white horse to be Banshee to put him on. So we can put him with the rest of our Ghost Rider characters on all their different rides. So be cool to get the horse for him. Now, just to show you, we do have all the other characters on the ride and stuff. Didn't want to get him down, but we did go and get this version of Ghost Rider just to have a Ghost Rider there with Phantom Rider. Like I said, they don't really have direct connections and anything, but just over the years, they've kind of sort of retconned him with the Ghost Rider being connected together and with the other versions of Ghost Rider and everything. So really nice to add Phantom Rider to our collection. And that brings us to our final character of the Build-A-Figure, Skurge the Executioner. So he was an Asgardian warrior that was a half-storm giant, and he got the name Executioner after fighting a war against the storm giants. When he arrived to Asgard, he was seduced by Enchantress into assisting her with many of her schemes, and he would do anything for her, which often involved conflicts with Thor and frequently allying with Loki. So he has the Asgardian physiology with supreme strength, speed, durability, reflexes, and longevity. And he's known for using his weapon, the Blood Axe. So it looks pretty cool with this design, of course, going with the more classic comic look for Executioner. If you watch the MCU movies, you're pretty familiar with Executioner, played by Karl Urban in Thor Ragnarok. So that was pretty cool, and has a very similar design to this, so I was quite surprised. Now, what did surprise me about this figure is how big he is. I assume he's just going to be, normal figure size or whatever, but he's a bigger figure, so he'd be like a deluxe or whatever, so much bigger in size, which makes sense with being a Build-A-Figure with the bigger size and all that. But looks good. So he's got the all bald head, but has the lines. I don't know if that's supposed to be hair or just like tattoo design. I couldn't really tell from like when it was in the movie what it was supposed to be, but just has whatever going on his head there. Nice crazy eyebrows with all the darkness around his eyes. So it looks like he's getting into the makeup a little with the nice like goatee mustache design there. Looks pretty awesome with the nice hang down pieces. Then we get the outfit design. So a lot of blue, which really stands out. So we get the blue shirt design. Love like the studs there around the arms. Blue gloves on his hands with all the studs. Then it has like this nice apron sort of covering like armor sort of thing. So it has this big axe design there and a nice metallic purple on that black design with the straps going up and around to the back, connecting it all there together. And it has like the tassel designs hanging in the front, which looks cool. Then he's got the black leggings there down into the blue boots with the fur at the top of them and everything. Just looks really nice, just like this design. Pretty simple and basic overall for Skurge. Now Moonwise, his head will twist all the way around. It'll look down that far, and of course it is on the disc, so it should be able to disc more, but then you're starting to hit the chin against the chest, so there is some range to that and look up that far, so really nice there. The shoulders will come up to 90 and rotate all the way around. He's got a bicep twist, so it's not too common, at least doesn't seem too common on Build-A-Figures, but it does have the single elbow joint there that just bends to 90 with rotation in it. Get the wrist that'll twist all the way around and hinge up and down for this hand. Then we have the ab crunch, so he'll crunch forward, crunch back there. It's nice crunching, twisting, goes side to side, all the nice hula around there. Hips will come up to 90 and out to the side. Thigh twist all the way around. The double knee joint that'll bend up that far to back, very close to kicking himself in the butt, and down to the foot that rocks back and forth and twists side to side. So good movements overall, and does have pinless legs and everything there. Of course, elbows because they're just single elbows, but pretty nice design overall for this, especially for a Build-A-Figure. Like I said, we don't really get Build-A-Figures too often. It's been quite a, almost, I was going to say a year. It's not been a year, but feels like a year, definitely over half a year since we've had our last Build-A-Figure. I thought they were probably going to be done with them, just, give us figures as single releases, but it's very nice that we finally did get another Build-A-Figure after a while. Now, accessory-wise, he does come with some additional hands, so we get more like waxing, relaxed hands, whatever you want to call them there. So different versions to go along with the fist and the grip hand. But for the grip hand, we got to give him Blood Axe, which is an axe infected with evil and can curse the wielders with bloodlust. So kind of explains why he's mean and evil. But it looks pretty cool with his just big giant axe. Nice design overall for it there. Looks cool. We can put into his hand. And there's Executioner with axe, looking pretty cool. Kind of pose them up a little there, trying to with the axe. That looks pretty awesome. But now that we have Executioner, we can bring in him with some of our other Asgardian characters. And there's a handful of our other Asgardians with, of course, Thor and Loki, his lover Enchantress, Hela, which I brought in just because in the movie, he worked for Hela, and then Lady Sif once again. So just like I said, another handful of Asgardians. Of course, we have Odin and everything else we can show in here with him, but it's overall very cool just to add Executioner in with our other Asgardians. And that's going to be it for our Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure Executioner wave. We're in this wave. We got World War II Wolverine, Enchantress, Werewolf by Night, Warbo, Dark Avengers Spider-Man, Phantom Rider, and Iron Man Armor 72. So very cool to get all 7 of those figures, and our Build-A-Figure of Skurge the Executioner was really cool. Like many of these figures, like the World War II Wolverine, Werewolf by Night, Warbo, Phantom Rider, the Enchantress is updated. Just wish she didn't have those high heels. That's like the biggest downside to me. And like I said, the Dark Avengers Spider-Man and Iron Man aren't really that cool just because I don't really like nothing crazy about the designs. Like, of course, the Black Suit Spider-Man, we just had it multiple times, and, nice to get one for the Dark Avengers now. Just don't really care about the 6-arm version that much. And then, like I said, I think the story behind the Iron Man armor is pretty cool, cooler than the actual execution of the figure. And, of course, love that Skurge figure for our Build-A-Figure is really cool. So, a lot of good figures in this wave, mostly positive wave in my opinion, with just some figures that are still cool, just some figures I don't really care as much about. So, let me know what you thought of this wave down in the comments, and if you enjoyed my review, let me know what that like and hit the subscribe button to see more. But I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all stay awesome out there, and I'll see you in our next review.